All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Darius Anucauskas, and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com. And today is Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Look, we just got the NFP numbers, and I already did a little video when the NFP numbers were just coming out. So I thought I'm going to do like a little quick separate video on the metals because they have reacted a little bit, especially silver. But everything slowly. Let's jump into the risk disclaimer first. The content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. There we go, managed to squeeze this one out. I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest. I'm not going to disappear anywhere, but the NFP number came out. It was something that I was talking about this morning in my Markets Talk webinar, where I was kind of expecting the number to be maybe a little bit on the lower side than the forecast. Well, thank you very much, got that. Also, just before we go any further, as always, just a quick mentioning of our Markets.com website, which you can always check out for more information about us. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist. So, ladies and gentlemen, the labor numbers, the U.S. labor numbers. So, also, by the way, don't forget that for those who are trading the Canadian dollar, we got the Canadian numbers as well. Just to briefly mention those, the Canadian unemployment came out at 6.8 against the previous to 6.5, whereas the U.S. came out at 4.4. Better than the forecast, better than the previous. The only thing is that the non-farm payrolls, there we go, 50K came out. The forecast was at 60K, and the previous number got adjusted to 56 because before that it was at 64. Now, look, I was kind of saying this morning in my Markets Talk webinar that if it comes out somewhere in between 0 and kind of 100,000, then basically the market will react, but it will be something of a maybe moderate, reaction, because I think the main focus today is actually, yes, job numbers are important, but the Supreme Court tariffs decision. I think that this is what the market is waiting for, because look, this whole shebang is about, were the tariffs delivered or announced last year, were they lawful in general? Was the White House acting in good faith, or in general, were they allowed to do that in overall? So this is where we're going to get the first kind of glance at what the Supreme Court thinks. And also, today we're going to get apparently should be the Fed president speaking. Should be a little speech there. And also, probably the more important thing is the meeting, the gathering of the top oil representatives from top oil companies of the U.S., of course, with the White House. So they're going to have a little dinner there. And they're going to be deciding who's going to, tap into that, into those Venezuela oil reserves. Again, it's a very interesting thing. In general, the hypocrisy of the world is it just amazes me every day. So whereas one country is, let's say, when one country is invading another country, that's wrong, but then the other country invades, that's okay, as long as it's in the name of the democracy, right? Yeah, or in the name democracy equals oil. So anyway, long story short, look, for now, what can I say? The reaction in the metals. Let's jump into that, because this is the whole point of this little video. We got a nice reaction jumping into the 30 minutes. So initially we saw a decline because the first move lower here happened. The US dollar was strengthening, but then everything changed quickly, and yes, we saw kind of a strong push to the upside. But the thing is that the DXY continues to actually move higher. Where's that DXY? It continues to push higher, despite despite the kind of the numbers that were on the weaker side. What's interesting here is that maybe it could be seen as a safe haven, because normally right now, given that we had a number like this, like 50K, I believe that the Federal Reserve will be seen hiking very time soon. I think that the whole point of having the rate cut happening before Jerome Powell leaves in May, I think that's kind of strengthening that idea. Although the CME FedWatch tool right now is not really showing us that, I think we're, first of all, January will have nothing happening, that's for sure. It's the April meeting that we're interested in. At the moment, we're expecting no cut, basically something like that. But look, several times we had, a picture similar to this, but then closer to the date, it kind of got changed because I think the market was worried, that oh my God, we're gonna, the market starts to sell off, and then the Fed starts worrying. Okay, we need to jump in and help. Look, in general, I will stick to this. That I think that before Jerome Powell leaves, I think he's gonna just give that rate cut to the White House, just as a leaving present. So I think that this number will change eventually. I think that the 37.7, I think will increase. This column will increase by April. But again, I don't have a crystal ball. Let's see what happens. But again, just like a little projection, like a little guess, I would say. But coming back to the situation with gold and other commodities and other precious metals, I think that what we're seeing right now, despite the rise in the U.S. dollar, I think that just the market participants are getting back into the whole safe haven game, because I think that everybody's worried. What's going to happen with Venezuela? What's going to happen with with further rate cuts, and everybody believes that yes, the rate cuts will happen. So this is a good chance for precious metals to regain ground again, and become attractive again. So that's where, like I said, that's where the positivity here is coming from. And At the moment, what we're seeing, looking at the technical picture, we're seeing a nice push higher. We're currently testing the highs, or we're very close to the highs of this week, and the current highs of this week near the 4,500 level. So if we do clear that barrier, I think that yes, it's opening the door towards that 4,550, and in a way, maybe even further north. So all these talks about 5,000 could be doable, could be still on the plate. And Unless, like I said, unless we struggle to overcome the 4,550 zone, unless that, But at the moment, let's deal with the 4,500 level. It's a beautiful, nice, beautiful round number. If we clear that today, great. I think more buyers could join in. And in general, I think that the stock market today could be a little bit more on the positive side, I believe. Let's see. Again, I'm not rushing into any conclusion, but Dow is really trying hard to go back to not to go back, but to go towards that 50,000 mark. I think maybe by the end of this month we could see that. Let's see. But again, let's not rush into conclusion yet, okay? So for now, while I'm talking right now, we can see that the stock market is open. Let me just see what's happening here with the Dow. Yes, we've opened higher a little bit. And I think that, yes, we could go a little bit further north here. So we could go and retest that all-time high. And if we do clear the current all-time high, well, ladies and gentlemen, the path towards the 50,000 could be open. But yeah, coming back to the metals here, let's quickly take a look at silver. What's happening here at the moment? Look, it's looking at this daily chart. I think it's coiling up a little bit. Could be coiling up. Maybe it could be getting into a bit of a squeeze. And if it is the case, that means it's forming something of a triangle pattern. So in a way, if we go from the normal technical analysis, then standard technical analysis, the rules that we look at the prevailing trend. If we get the prevailing trend is to the upside, meaning that before entering this triangle pattern, the trend was to the upside, so the greater chance for this one to break out is to the upside. However, we have seen this happening in the opposite direction several times, so I'm not rushing into things. I'm waiting for clearance. So while we trade around here, I think it will become a little bit difficult to kind of predict what's going to happen next. Maybe we'll go higher. Maybe we'll just zigzag a little bit here until we get closer to one of the sides of this line of the triangle, and then yes, we could see a breakout. Let's see what's going to happen. Certainly, it's an interesting commodity to keep an eye on. Looking at the monthly chart here, you can see the craziness that we're experiencing in silver, I mean, look, eventually this will have to go down. 1980 showed us that, 2011 showed us that, 2025, is it going to be different? I really don't know. But again, I don't want to rush into conclusions yet, because look, if it suddenly pierces through that 83.75 territory, what's stopping it to go to that psychological 100 level? Honestly, it's like, I think that this is what the market is also hoping to see, before a major sell-off, if that sell-off could happen. But again, like, what comes up must come down eventually, so we also thought Nvidia is not capable of reversing back down. But hey, history kind of is, you need to learn history, you need to know history, you need to keep an eye on history. Platinum, very quickly on platinum, similar story. We're seeing major moves here to the upside, especially on the monthly chart. But the big question for me on platinum is that, can we stay above the highest point of 2008? Because if you remember, we rallied significantly, and then the crisis happened, and there we go, we sold off heavily. So we're testing that level. We went through this level a few times already last month, this month, but we keep on struggling to stay above it. So this is where my interest is. Are we going to be able to stay above it at the end of this month? If once again, at the end of this month, we're not going to be able to stay above it, because last month we were not able to do so. But if this month we're not going to be able to, maybe February, I would love to see a nice correction back down here. But again, this is what I would like to see. The market doesn't always give me what I wanted. Doesn't always give me what I want. Very quickly on Palladium, similar story, but this one is a little bit more attractive, to be honest. I believe in Palladium a little bit more than others, so I think that this still has some room to travel. Let's see what's going to happen there. And finally, copper. Again, with copper, look, I think that right now what's happening is the big deal between Rio Tinto and what's the name for that? Rio Tinto. This morning they were talking about the merge, or the Rio Tinto, Glencore. There we go, Glencore. So if Rio Tinto captures Glencore, basically it becomes like the biggest miner in the world, and these guys are going to be in control of copper, most of the copper in the world. So it's going to be very interesting to see if it goes through, if anti-monopoly kind of institutions will approve that. But hey, we know that in this crazy world, anything can get approved as long as somebody's paid the top dollar. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, for now, like I said, this is the situation with the metals. Let's see what's going to happen again going further this month. But certainly keep your eyes on today's action. We are getting the U.S. metals net position data. That's 3:30 U.S. time, New York time, as I understand. So in about 4 hours or something like that. So keep an eye on that. If, like I said, if that's the case, then yes, we're going to get some interesting data there. So we might see some action in the metals, getting closer to the closing bell, the U.S. closing bell, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, look, thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And as always, stay safe. Have your stop losses in place. Risk only what you can afford to lose. Don't overtrade, and everything will be fine. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.